Okay, so we are going to go through Docusign kind of from start to finish, from entering in a opportunity in command, and then through all the way through putting documents from Docusign into command for compliance. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started. All right. Okay, so first of all, whenever you're working with opportunities, you're going to want to start in command. And so this is really important because you don't want to start by making a room in Docusign. And remember that a room is a loop, right? So that's the same terminology there. So you never want to start with making a room. You want to start with making an opportunity in command. So first things first, you're going to want to make sure your Docusign is connected to command. So I'm up in the top right and I'm going to go to settings. And you're going to want to make sure that your Docusign account is connected to command. If it is, you will look like this here, where it has Docusign and it says connected. Now with the time limits that we have for this class, if your Docusign account isn't connected yet, you're just going to have to sit back and listen for this class, and then or feel free to hop off and get on the Docusign study guide, because that study guide has instructions on how to connect your account, but we don't have time to go into that just yet. So you'll want to make sure that your Docusign is connected. Okay, so then we're going to go to opportunities, which is the handshake icon. So you I would recommend either doing a split screen and following along, or just watching and taking notes. But either way, if I go too fast, let me know. And again, some people are new, but we still only have about 9 people on this call. So feel free just to chime in with questions, or you can type them in the chat function. You don't have to, you can unmute yourself if you'd like. So I'm here in opportunities and I'm going to create an opportunity. And today I'm going to do a buyer because I did a listing on Tuesday. Right, and so I'm assuming everyone's pretty familiar with this part of the process, but everything with an asterisk you're going to need to type in. Me and Kyle, my husband, are obsessed with Ozark right now. So my test is Wendy Bird is my test contact for right now. So, and then your name, right? So like this is a buyer, so we wouldn't have the address just yet until the buyer went under contract. So, you know, you would just name it whatever you wanted and then change that name later when you went under contract. So we're going to just label this a test opportunity. Right. And then the only thing else that's recommended is the commission rate. So you can always change that later if necessary, but we'll go with a 3% right now. Okay. And then I create. Okay, so like I said, you don't create a room first, you create your opportunity first. So we are here in opportunities, and we're going to link this now to Docusign. So, sorry. My Zoom options keep getting in the way of my screen. Okay, so this is the details section, right? So when it's a listing, you're able to pull the address from a listing up here, but this is a buyer, right? So, but if you do have a listing and you pull from your listings up here, then that'll auto-fill in Docusign right away for you, which is nice. But so going over to documents, this is how you're gonna link this opportunity to Docusign, right? So, okay, so over here on the right-hand side where it says start transaction, that's how you're gonna link it to Docusign. So you would click this, and then currently we still have .loop and Docusign connected, as do many of you. So you want to be careful here because you can only make this decision one time, So once you pick DocuSign or .loop, you can't change your mind later. So take your time deciding which one you want to use for now. But obviously, we're going to use DocuSign. So when you click that, it's going to ask me to assign my agents, which I think only happens if you're on a team. So you'll notice that it is thinking. Okay. And then it'll either automatically pop you to DocuSign, or you can use this go to transaction, and that will take you over to DocuSign. So this is my room. So again, a room and a loop are the same thing. So this is my room in DocuSign. So when I create my opportunity or my room for the first time, I have to do so through command. But then after, you can go to realestate.docusign.com, and that will take you to your DocuSign homepage. But when you're creating, then you need to start in command. So I see that we have people joining us, which is awesome. So feel free to chime in with questions or use the chat function, either way. So we are in our DocuSign room now. So this is like a loop, right? So this is DocuSign. So along the top here, we have the different tabs within here. So in the details section, you're going to want to start in the details section. So this is where you're going to put the information that will then be auto-populated into some of your forms. So to edit, it's in the right-hand side with the pencil icon. So when you press edit, then everything kind of becomes fillable, okay? So notice it starts with sellers over here, but we have the buyers. So when you scroll all the way down, you're gonna pass sellers, listing agents, and then you notice we get to buyers, and that's where my contact Wendy Bird is, right? So that auto-populated from our contact in command. So her name, her phone number, her email address, which you should recognize is my email. So that's a quick tip. If you're going to use a fake contact to get started, you may want to put your own email in there, and then you can kind of see what gets sent to you when, to kind of get an idea of that. Okay. And then I'm able to enter in a buyer too. So I'm going to do that so that I can show you some of the other functions. So Wendy's husband's name is Marty. So I'm going to put Marty Bird, and I'm going to put his email as my other email. Right? And then if we kept scrolling down, buyer agent 1, that's Joanne, right? So that got entered in from our account on command. So that's nice that that's put in there for us, right? And then I can save this information down here on the bottom right. And then the room has been updated. So that's how you can kind of make sure that all of your clients' contact information is in there. And then if you wanted to later, you could enter in the seller information or the listing agent information after you know that, after your buyers go into contract. That way you can autofill some stuff in the forms, which just saves time.
Got a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Okay, I'm looking under that, far right, it says seller.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working this situation where I've got the buyer. Where do I put the buyer's detail in there?
So the buyer's
listing agent,
it's all the way down.
All the way to the bottom. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think they just do that so that it's the same every time, but the sellers are on top and then the buyers are on bottom.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yeah, so Julie asks, if I add a co-buyer to the opportunity, will that info autofill as buyer too? That's a great question. I'm not sure, but I will try that and I will let you know, because I bet it would. I bet it would. But so far I just have Wendy in my command, so I'll try that. Great question. Okay. So this is the details. So that's pretty much it in details. Now I've learned that there is this option for people, which is another place that you could put your buyers. But the classes that I've taken, when you put somebody in as a person in your room, it sends them an email. And other agents have just said that that could be kind of confusing for clients if they get an email from Docusign that doesn't have anything to sign. So they just don't put them in as people. So just an idea. So the documents portion. So the documents portion is like obviously the big kahuna, right? So this is where you would add all of your documents that you want your clients to sign. So over here on the right-hand side where it says add, so you would most likely be using the computer forms and Docusign forms the most. So a computer form is just going to be a PDF that you have already on your computer and you're uploading it, and it's not going to be interactive already. You're going to have to make it interactive yourself. Docusign forms are the ones that are already interactive. They've already been filled with like the text boxes and the signature boxes for you. So I'm going to show you how to do both because I think that you would need to do both all the time. So we'll start with Docusign forms. So again, this is going to be the ones that are interactive, okay? So I've used Docusign quite a bit already, so I immediately get to this add Docusign forms screen. You may see a screen that asks you for your NERDS ID your first time. You want to skip that. You might also come to a screen that looks like this here. And you'll know you don't want to choose either of these providers. You would want to click continue to company forms without validation. So I've noticed that that happens the first time, but it doesn't seem to happen again. So I think you just need to do that one time. And then you should be here to add Docusign forms. So you want to choose from the library, you want to actually toggle down to group. And then in group, that's where you're going to find the buyer and the listing packets. So that's what you're used to. So this is a buyer. So I would choose buyer packet. And those forms are going to come up down here, right? And so you can select all by choosing select all here, or you can just pick and choose. So that would be up to you. So I'm going to choose the team disclosure. And then I was also going to choose the consumer guide. And then you would press add at the bottom. Okay. So then they're going to pop up here. So a couple of things to note, this icon here, the blue form, that's just letting you know that this is a Docusign form that's interactive. You'll see it looks different when it's a PDF. This will also turn to a little green check mark when everybody that's required to sign has signed, to give you just kind of an at a glance view of all the documents in the room. So you can edit the document. So we'll edit the team disclosure. So when I click that, it'll pop up. Right, and you're able to edit this, right? So you would click in and you can start typing. So Joanne Rasmussen, and then you can press tab to move to the next one, members of, right? And then with the, I think they're called radials, with the dots, you gotta be careful. Once you choose one, you can switch, but you can't unclick. So if there's ever like a one that you don't need to check at all for some reason, then you would not want to press it, because you'll notice I'll press the seller, or we have the buyer, right? But then you can't uncheck it. So if this was a form where it's not necessarily necessary for me to click those, you want to be careful with that. Okay, and then I could type in all of the people, right? So like Kim Buckner, I'm not going to do everybody, but all right, blah blah blah. Okay? When you're done and you think, okay, this is ready for me to go, I'm going to save it. And then I'll be able to move on to the next step of sending it to clients. Okay? So to send a document is to Docusign a document, right? You have two options. You can Docusign two or more at the same time if you want, or you can do one at a time. Totally up to you. To do multiples, you would hover over the doc and you see this little circle and you would click that, and then you would hover over the other one and click that as well, okay, to select multiples. And then you would come up here to this pen icon. The pen icon is to sign it, like you sign it with pen, or you DocuSign it. So once I have the ones that I want, I'm gonna press the DocuSign button. Okay, so when you are sending something in DocuSign, you create what they call an envelope. Okay, so your documents, right? You write them, you are ready to go. You put them into an envelope, just like you're physically mailing something, and you send that envelope to your clients, right? And then all of your documents and your envelopes live inside of your room, your DocuSign room. So it's just kind of a little bit of vocabulary that goes along with this new system. So the envelope name, you might want, it auto-populates every single time as just please DocuSign. So up to you, you might change that to what it is, like team disclosure, consumer guide, or you could leave it. Again, that's gonna be something that as you play around, you decide what you like best. So here are the documents I have in my envelope. So I can, if I have a preference, I can move them around. Say for some reason I want them to look at the consumer guide before the team disclosure, or I can put them in the other order. So you can move them into whatever order you want. And then you're gonna add recipients. So you have these add recipients here. So you would click that. So your options here. Pre-tagged roles, that's going to be when the forms were made to be interactive, they tagged them with certain roles, that the certain people that need to sign those forms. So the pre-tagged roles, those are like already the signature boxes that are in these forms, and you're just going to define them as who's who. And then the room participants is just whoever you've already put into the details, that right side column we were looking at for sellers, listing agent, buyer. So that's just everybody. And then you have email addresses, which would be just you make up whatever you want. So for example, you might need Lori Molnar to sign something, and that would be a way that you could add her as well. You can add her just purely from her email address, just like typing it in. So we'll do the pre-tagged roles just because these two forms up here are DocuSign forms, so I know they've already been tagged with different people. So we'll choose that. And you see we have the document, the team disclosure, we have the two signers, which would be my two buyers, which would be Wendy Bird and Marty Bird. And same thing for the consumer guide, buyer 1 would be Wendy and buyer 2 would be Marty. So you're just matching up those people so that you'll see when they actually go to sign, it just looks different for each of them. So you would add them. Okay. So this part, you can do so much in this part. It's like crazy. So here is the people that we're going to send this envelope to, right? And they're just repeating because we have two different forms, right? So this column here, the 1s, 2s, and 3s, what this is doing is it's staggering it, right? So that whoever's in the number 2 spot, they're not going to be sent this document until the number 1 spots have signed them, okay? And so I'm just going to change these all to 1s because I don't care. Oh, is it not? Oh, I guess you have to. Oh, I learned something. since there's 2 documents, I guess you have to, oh, this is getting all weird. Sorry, guys. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm not really sure why this got so weird just now. But the 1s and 2s and 3s over here, that's just, they're not gonna, it's gonna send it in order, okay? So it's gonna send it to Wendy first, right? And then when she signs it, it'll send this other form to her. And then the 2s will go at the same time, and then the 3s. So what this could be used for is, for example, like a mutual release where you would need Lori's signature on it, but Lori's not going to sign it until it's completed. You would just put Lori as the last person. And that way Docusign automatically, after the first required people sign it, then it'll automatically send it to her once it's finished. So that's kind of nice. And I don't believe that Dotloop did that, but I could be wrong. So other options you have in here is you can have somebody needs to sign it, or you can just have that they need to view it. So that's cool. And then in the more section, you can add a password to a document. So if you have a client that is particularly like hesitant about like signing electronically, you could add in that like extra measure for them if that makes them feel any better. So you could, add a password, and then it lets you enter the code, right? Now, you would obviously have to tell them this code, or they wouldn't be able to get to the document. So I'm going to discard that. And then you can also private message them. So if you had a bunch of different people on this envelope, but you have something specific to say to one person, you could add that in. So that's kind of cool also. And then as you scroll down, you'll see that this in the bottom, this is what your client or whoever you're sending it to is going to actually see in their email. So again, the email subject auto-populates as please Docusign. So you can make that as specific as possible. And then you could add in a message like, hey, call me if you have questions. Yay. Okay. Someone's just asking if it's recorded, and yes, this is recorded. So I'll put it up when it's done. Right. So when you're finished with like the preferences for your envelope, then you would come up to the top right and you would choose next. This is where you're going to actually see the forms. So I'll click next. My computer's been a little slow lately. Okay, so this is the actual part where you can see their signatures. So here's that team disclosure. Notice everything I typed in the documents is saved because I saved it in the documents. And then as you scroll down, you see the signature boxes in there already. So they're color coded based on the people that are in your room. So you'll notice up at the top left, Wendy is in yellow, and then Marty is in blue, right? And so that'll just kind of let you know, okay, this Wendy's going on top, and then Marty's here, this line here. So you can also add things. So if for some reason you needed to add something, you would just take something and you would take it and drag it over. Okay, but I don't need to put that in there. So I'm just going to click it and then press delete and it goes away. Okay, so I can see that. And then I'm scrolling down and I see the consumer guide. Okay, and I see the purple and the blue. And I see, notice here, Wendy's name already populated and Marty's name already populated. And that's because they were put into the details part of my document or of my room. And so it auto-populated into there. And so again, you can check the colors. Wendy's the purple and Marty is that darker blue. Okay, so you can do a recipient preview in the top right. So if you click that, it'll show you exactly what your different clients are going to see. And then it also allows you to look at it in the 3 different views, either on a tablet or a phone. So if for some reason you know that one of your clients is only ever going to use their phone and you just want to make sure it doesn't look weird when it's really small, you can switch it to the mobile phone and you can just kind of see what it looks like there. And you can exit out. And then so when you're ready, you would just press send on the top right. Okay, so now you see your envelope, right, in the envelope section of your room. And it says waiting for others, right? So it'll turn green just like your document will whenever people have signed it. So when you click your envelope, you can actually see who we're waiting on, right? You can resend it. If you, for some reason, they say they don't have it, you can resend it here. Okay. So that is the interactive forms. I'm gonna just kind of scroll through the screens. Can I get some thumbs up if you feel like we're good? Oh, not a lot of you have your screens on. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna assume that you're good if I haven't heard from you in the chat. I'm like used to teaching 7th graders, so I'm used to like just a wave of feedback at all times, positive and negative. So it's a little weird to teach a silent room. Okay, so that's the Docusign, the interactive forms. And so next I'll show you the PDFs. So I'm going to go back to Documents. And I'm going to go to add on the right hand side. I'm going to add from computer. Okay. And I put the agency disclosure on my computer from a PDF, right? Just to show you. This one is in there interactively, but I'm just showing you what it looks like to do a PDF. So already you notice it looks a little different because it has the PDF logo instead of the form. Okay. And so to DocuSign it, right, I can click this check mark and click DocuSign, or I can choose it. Oh, it's taking a while. So I can click this document actions on this top right, and I can choose DocuSign from there. I'm gonna click it. I don't know if it'll let us if the preview is not ready, but let's see. Okay. So again, same as last time. Since it's a PDF, when I go to add recipients, you're going to notice the pre-tagged roles aren't there. And that's because there are no pre-tagged roles because we haven't yet added any signature boxes to this document. So what I would need to do is I would need to use the room participants, and I would need to just think about who all needs to sign this form, which in this case would be my buyers, Wendy and Marty. So I'd select them and I would press add. And remember that information gets pulled from that side column in the details. So that's where their information came from. So here they are, right? And again, like I tried to show you last time, and it just got weird for some reason. You can move Marty to spot number 2 if you wanted him not to be able to sign until Wendy did. But if you don't care about that, you can just leave him as a 1. And then if they're the same number, they just get it at the same time. Okay, and then again, you would customize down here if you wanted to. And let's see if it loaded. It was like asking for a preview earlier, so. Let's see, learning on the fly. Yeah, I just think it's not. Let me try to just go back and just do a different one because it didn't, I think I tried to get a little fancy today and I wonder if I just got too fancy. Bear with me here, guys. Okay, this one worked. So I don't know why this one didn't work over here. So I'll archive it. So this is good. So this is how you archive a document. So yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so this one here. Oh my gosh. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Okay, so document actions at the top right and then Docusign. I'll just kind of go quickly through this next part since we already tried this. Okay, weird. Well, we're here now. Okay, so I went ahead and made this agency disclosure as if the listing agent sent it to me. So notice like some of this stuff is already filled out, but you'll see that there's like nothing for anyone to sign or put their name in or anything, right? So when you have a PDF, you have to add in all of those things that you need yourself. So on the left-hand side is where you're going to do all of that. So the property address, so by this point, right, I would know what that is. So maybe I'll add a text box. And I'm just clicking and dragging that. And then now I'm double clicking and now I can type. So let's pretend it's the office, East Wilson Bridge Road. And then I would just click off of that. And then it's a little like squished. So if you click it again, you can then drag and make things one line, right? And then you don't really, right, we're in Marty right now, who's in yellow. So we don't really need Marty to look at this or type this. So on the right-hand side, instead of making it a required field, right, we'll just uncheck that because he doesn't need to do anything for that. So we can make it read only, which means he's just going to look at it, right? And then you'll notice here, right, that the selling agent misspelled their name, right? So how do you cross things out, right? So it's going to be on the left-hand side, this markup tool. That's where the line is. So you would drag that over, and then you could always click it and say you can make it as long as you need it to. So you would cross that out. And then I would go back and I would put in the text to correct it. So Marty, Bird, and Wendy, Bird. And then I think people have to initial changes, right? So your initials are here. So you would drop in initials if you needed initials. And you can make those smaller as well. Okay. So that's how you cross things out. I know that would be important. And then I've showed you how you can put in text. So then you would put in your name and your brokerage here, right? And then down here, your buyers, right? You would put in their signature. So you would drop in their signature, and you're always welcome to make that, smaller so it fits in the box. And you have to put the date signed yourself. So don't forget to do that. And then you would switch from Marty to Wendy to put in her signature. Drag and drop, and drag and drop. Right? So now you have all of the information that you need for them to be able to do in there. And so then you could preview it if you want, or you could just send it. Okay. And so now you see that we have the 2 envelopes that we made in our envelopes, and also all of those documents are in the documents tab as well. So that is all of the stuff about like using the forms in Docusign. And the last step would just be to get the forms from Docusign to Command. So before we move on, wanted to pause for a second if anyone had any questions before we move. We're going to toggle back to Command. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my tab that has Command, right? I'm here in my test opportunity. Okay. I'm going to go to the under contract part of my opportunity, and I'm going to now attach the file. So we looked at the consumer guide, the team disclosure, and the agency. So you can attach multiple files up here, okay? Or you could do them one by one. So I'll show you both. So if you're going to attach multiple files, right, you would switch from manual, right, which would mean they're on your computer already, to Docusign. And then you would just match them up. So we did the consumer guide. So we would click this down arrow, and we would see these 4 documents are the documents that we have in our room. So we would choose the consumer guide. And then we did the team disclosure. So we would drop down here and we would choose team disclosure. Then we would press attach. Okay, and then those are going to match up, right? But we also did the agency disclosure, and to do one document at a time, you would just click add a file. And again, from manual, you're going to switch over to Docusign. And this is the agency. So you would click it and you would assign it. Okay. And so then our documents are now, they're now with our opportunity in Command. And so whenever we were ready, we could press submit to Market Center and it would be submitted, right? I'm not going to do that right now though, because this is just for fun. Okay. So yeah, Julie, great question. I was thinking that as well. So I don't know if anyone else noticed that our archived file showed up as an option to attach, which was a little confusing because we didn't know which was which. So I'm going to move back to Docusign. And it looks like there's no delete, but if I could rename it and I could just put an archived on there, and that would tell me not to choose that one. That is my just initial thinking on the fly solution to that problem. But I'm wondering if there's a different way. And so I'll look into that as well. But that's kind of just my gut feeling. Okay. So other than that, I would want to just draw your attention to the Docusign study guide that we've put together for everybody. So these are just a great way to just kind of refresh your memory. Especially now that you've kind of gotten the big overview, you might end up just having a quick question on like the smaller steps. And so here in this portion, it kind of has split it up into sections so that those are little like 5 to 10 minute videos just on specific things, not the whole kahuna all at once. And then there's some other tips here. I recently added this one about adding documents as templates. So if you have a document that you end up having to type the same thing over and over again to every single client, you can actually create a template so that you don't have to do it every time, which could save you time as well. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. So I'll stop my sharing and I'll stay on, but if no one has any other questions, you can hop off, and I hope to see you guys soon.